If you guys are trying to take your training to the next level and you want to increase your speed, your power, your conditioning, then you gotta check out Phil Daru's 8-week heavy hitter boxing program. I'm telling you guys right now, there's no
Man, shout out to Dante's Boxing Nation.
DBN Nation, of course, support DBN Nation. You're hearing it from Floyd Money Mayweather.
It's Terrence Crawford, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
This is Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation, baby.
Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation. Woo! Hey.
If you know, you know. Now, Shakur Stevenson is fed up with the politics of boxing, and he has something to say about Arum, Haymon, Hearn, Oscar De La Hoya, and every promoter out there. Now, shout out to Blue Blood TV. I got this news from him. He's always on time with his work, and he just be putting great work overall on his channel. So shout out to Blue Blood. Subscribe to his channel and show love. Now, I agree with Shakur Stevenson. However, even if boxing is like the UFC, where all the fighters are under one promoter and under one umbrella like Dana White in the UFC, Shakur Stevenson will still be avoided. And that's because the fighters don't want to step in the ring with a Shakur Stevenson, because he's the closest thing to Rigondeaux. And it showed his last fight when he was the main event, and every fighter he tried to fight pulled out. Nobody was trying to replace his opponent for good reasons, because they see in Shakur what they saw in Floyd, what they saw in Sugar Ray Leonard. He's a pound for pound #1 potential, and they just don't want to be a stepping stone. Now, you got Frampton on one hand. Obviously, he get no respect. He got no respect points whatsoever in the sport of boxing for ducking Rigondeaux and ran from the division just to avoid the #1 champion in that division at the time, which was Rigondeaux. Just like Santa Cruz, just like Morez, just like Donaire. All these fighters end up fighting each other instead of fighting Rigondeaux, and they ran from a division to avoid Rigondeaux. So what makes you think a Frampton will want to step in with a Shakur Stevenson, the closest thing to Rigondeaux? A prime Shakur Stevenson. Yes, he's still green, but even Shakur Stevenson at his worst will always beat Frampton at his best. That's why when Andre Ward was in the media meeting with Frampton and they asked Frampton, would you fight Shakur? He tried to spin it around by saying, well, I favor Oscar to beat Shakur Stevenson because Shakur's still green. So why are you afraid to fight a fighter that's unexperienced? That's your only opportunity of beating him. So you can't even beat a fighter that's unexperienced? That tells you what kind of level you on. So Frampton not wanting to fight Shakur Stevenson just because he's unexperienced. Meanwhile, when he was coming up and he was experienced, he didn't want to fight Rigondeaux because he wasn't ready. However, Shakur don't have them problems. He feel like he ready now. So like I said, the only time you're going to have a chance of beating a Shakur Stevenson is now. And even now you don't have a chance. And your action tells it all. So, but at the end of the day, we all know Frampton is one of the fighters that earned the trophy. Just like there's a trophy for Fighter of the Year, there's also a trophy for Ducker of the Year, which it went to Frampton. Frampton had it for 1 year. Then Cruz took the throne away from him and had it 2 years back to back when they were running from Rigondeaux. Now they running from a grandpa version of Rigondeaux and a green version of Shakur Stevenson. You got Oscar moving up in weight, not wanting to fight Shakur Stevenson because he don't want to get exposed, claiming he can't make the weight. However, he stated, I'm willing to unify versus Frampton at 126. So how can you make the weight from Frampton, but you can't make the weight for Shakur Stevenson? Sound like another duck to me. So at the end of the day, we all know what time it is. Shakur Stevenson, he put fear in these fighters. He put fear in these grown men. And he's just only a fighter that's 20 years old. Now imagine when he's complete. That's just him when he's most vulnerable on the come up. And he's on a fast track and everybody's already avoiding him. he turned into the version of Errol Spence when he was on the come up. So I understand the frustration that Shakur Stevenson is going through right now. That's why I got to give him even more credit for calling out a Lomachenko before Lomachenko got exposed versus Luke Campbell. He was calling out Lomachenko, saying he ready right now. He was calling out everyone, really, Gervonta Tank Davis and all the big names. So you got to give Shakur Stevenson a lot of credit, and he gets a lot of respects points because at the end of the day, he's calling out everyone while being the most feared, while being on the fast track, and he's super young. In the sport of boxing, you see a lot of analysts give fighters like Lomachenko a lot of credit for being on the fast track, but they supposed to, because they have a lot of experience in the amateurs and they are getting older because they turning pro while they're 26, 27. That's your prime. So you're supposed to be on the fast track. And I even remember the time when Rigondeaux told Bob Arum he wanted to fight for a title shot, his first pro fight. So when you're a fighter that's 26, 27, had 2 gold medals, so much experience in the amateurs, obviously you're supposed to be on a fast track. But I give more credit to a fighter that's only 20 years old, like Shakur Stevenson, like Floyd Money Mayweather, and they already pursuing a title shot, calling out everyone. I remember Floyd Mayweather, it took him a year and a half to become a champion, beating the lineal champion at 130 at the time. That's the same thing Shakur Stevenson is doing today. And that's why, in my opinion, Shakur Stevenson is the closest thing to a Floyd Mayweather, is the closest thing to Errol Spence on the come up, is the closest thing to a Crawford and an Andre Ward. And there's so much potential that Shakur has going on, so he can't let all the boxing politics get to him. At the end of the day, he gonna get the fights he wants, regardless if boxing is ran by one person, he will still be avoided, because at the end of the day, it's the fighters that don't want to fight him. So we all know Haymon is running the boxing game right now because he has most of the fighters. He's the one that's getting the highest ratings on his platform, the PBC, Fox, and Showtime. However, regardless of the fact, you see Errol Spence, when he was signed with Haymon, still avoided at the time. So it's up to the fighters at the end of the day. So a promoter or a manager can't put a gun on his head and force him to sign the contract. But at the same time, if all the fighters are under the same manager or promoter, under the same umbrella, it will actually help. So I understand where Shakur Stevenson is coming from, but boxing is too much politics. That's why, Haymon and the PBC want to get rid of the WBO, is because it's ran by Bob Arum. All his fighters are the #1 mandatories for that belt because organization in a way. And that's why you got Eddie Hearn on another hand. When Deontay Wilder accepted the offer that AJ sent for $15 million to fight him in the UK, he was taking a low blow. As soon as he signed the contract, Eddie had the WBO order a fight between a drug cheat, Povetkin, and AJ. So we all know politics plays a big role in the sport of boxing. These promoters actually pay these sectioning fees and most likely throw money on the side to get a favor or two, like, order a mandatory for me, put this guy on the top 5. This fighter I just signed, I want him to be the 3rd mandatory for this champion. So, the sport of boxing is very corrupt, like I stated, from having too many belts, from too many promoters, from corrupt judges, and the list goes on and on. And I didn't even mention steroids, because that's another topic, because we have fighters that go in the ring while being dirty. Like Eddie Hearn fighter Dillian White, where he got tested positive for PEDs and still was approved to fight without notifying his opponent. On another hand, you got a lot of championship fighters where they don't even get VADA testing. So at the end of the day, boxing is very corrupted. And I understand where Shakur coming from, because he want all the smoke. So he don't want no excuse as far as, he's on the other side of the street. But it's actually true. That's the problems we dealing with in the sport of boxing. It's too many promoters, too many networks, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, what Shakur had to say was, all that other side of the street shit in boxing is so trash. It takes away from the sport. I'm a boxer and I'm a boxing fan. I enjoy seeing and being in the best, fighting the best. So Bob and Al and even Eddie and Oscar need to have a big ass meeting and make boxing great again. So like I said, I agree with what Shakur is saying. He's all for the smoke. He want all the smoke. He don't want no excuses whatsoever. But like I said time and time again, it's more deep than that. You know, a lot of promoters have egos, and more importantly, they have a plan and they're trying to secure a bag. You know, you got Bob ruining a fight that was already made between Wilder and Tyson Fury for the rematch. You know, he came in between that fight and ruined that fight. Now, he claimed he wanted to make Terrence versus Spence, and he just ruined Tyson Fury versus Wilder. And then afterwards, he claimed, man, look, you know, upsets happen all the time. I want the big fights to happen now. And I'm just over here like, if that's the case, why you stop Tyson Fury versus Wilder rematch from happening? To fight two bums. You took Tyson Fury to fight literally two bums that's not even ranked on the top 50. And you talking about you want to build the fight? The only person that's building that fight is Wilder, because he fighting the top competition and he risking his O. So his name is growing. Tyson Fury is not even relevant. You know, no one even talking about his fights. No one cares because he fighting literally two bums. So Bob Arum claimed he wanted to make Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford while he stopped Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder from happening. And then he want to turn around and say, oh, you know, we got to make these big fights happen now before more upsets take place. You know, let's not forget, Bob Arum is the reason why Gamboa versus Lopez never took place. And then Lopez ended up losing to Salido. And there are plenty of examples where Bob Arum ruined super fights in the sport of boxing. So regardless of what people say, you got Ruiz. He went to Haymon when he already claimed he was almost homeless. And now look at him. He the champion of the world. Mikey Garcia left Bob Arum, went to Haymon. You have Floyd Mayweather do the same thing. You have Oscar De La Hoya leaving Bob Arum. So lead by example. Crawford need to do the same thing. Shakur Stevenson need to do the same thing. Head to the PBC where they actually promote fighters, unlike ESPN where they only promote one fighter and one fighter only, which is Lomachenko. So if you want to get equal rights, equal opportunities, and then where you actually have talent and your talent could shine, head to the PBC. Because like I said, you know, over there on ESPN and Bob Arum, if you don't have the complexion for the protection, then you ain't gonna get promoted like you're supposed to. That's why they're not promoting Shakur like they promoting Lomachenko. That's why they ain't promoting Crawford like they promoting Tyson Fury. And Crawford, man, he 10 times the fighter that Tyson Fury is. And he 2 times better than Lomachenko. So how are they not promoting their best talent like they supposed to? So I suggest that run from Bob Arum and head to the PBC and lead by example. You know, obviously, Floyd, Mikey, Ruiz, this ain't all a coincidence. They left Bob for a reason. So, like I always say, subscribe below if you're trying to get smart about the minute. If you're trying to get dumb about a second, don't listen to these casual fans. Follow Lantoon Boxing for the funniest boxing memes. Follow me at Aki TV and subscribe to my channel below. And click on the notification bell to get notified every time we go live. All the links will be in the description box below. And to be continued on the next episode of Aki TV. Peace, and we outie.